Okay. This meeting is called to order for January 3rd, 2022, Gold Hill City Council. We will start with roll call, please.
Mayor Studebaker.
Here.
Councilor Bichard. Here. Councilor Hinckley.
Here.
Councilor Rigney.
He's here. He's on.
I am here.
Okay. Councilor Palmer.
Here.
Councilor Wilson.
Here.
Councilor Gino.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. Okay. Carrie or Jerry, do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
No change to the agenda, Your Honor.
Any announcements, awards, or proclamations?
No, sir.
Public input. Mr. Kiesling, you're on.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Steve Kiesling from the Parks Commission, and I just had a few housekeeping items for the new year that I wanted to bring up from the Parks Commission, and I guess you'll be hearing about we've been talking about the weed, the blackberry stuff, and you'll hear about that later in the meeting. But the small thing is Can-Do has agreed to pay for the skateboard park ceiling and some maintenance on that. They put up $1,100, and they got a bid from a contractor who actually has built skateboard parks, and they brought it to us. And anyway, we approved it, and it's now the question is, I mean, it's a city decision ultimately because it's a city park. But who does it, whether it's Can-Do pays the contractor directly or the city pays it, I'm not sure, but I just want to make sure that it's a city council decision to move it forward ultimately. And so I'm hoping that you can just agree to take the money or have it done, just so that this is off of the Parks Commission desk and gets done with the city. So, however, and maybe all that needs to happen is that, Jerry gets, hires the contractor and then Can-Do reimburses the city or whatever. But I'm just putting that out there. The second thing is that, as I understand it, well, the Parks Commission has asked for roofs for the picnic structures in the park to get done. And this has been a pet project of Richard Hart's for quite some time. And I know Tony got some bids, and I believe that money was approved. I mean, the money from that new grant was approved by the council. And getting the work done in this weather is kind of awkward, but it's something we need to move on, because if we don't move on it pretty quickly, what's left is the whole entire structure will have to be replaced. So we're hoping that the city can jump on that.
Hey, Steve, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Was that money allotted from the ODOT to put roofs on? How's that part of transportation?
I was under my understanding that somehow that was going to be included from the ODOT fund.
I think that was in the second part that has yet to be approved. I think we approved the first portion of the recommendation for budget committee, which was tools and equipment for the Parks Department. But the second part has yet to be approved by the budget and brought to council.
Okay.
Thank you, Danielle.
Okay, well, then I guess what I'm saying is that hopefully this can get done, because Richard was saying the need is pretty urgent. It gets a lot of use, and if we don't repair it pretty soon, we'll have to replace the whole shebang, and that'll be a lot more expensive. So I'm just making that plea.
Steve, did you have a number for that bid? Approximately how much was that
I
going
think
to
it
cost?
was I believe it was $8,000. One bid was $8,000. I think there was one that was less than that. Tony knows, I believe.
Okay.
So again, this is just me. You're saying, hey, the Parks Commission is saying, hey, can we please get this done while it's still doable? Another thing that came up in the Parks Commission a month or so ago was that we talked a bit about the user fees in the park, and there's a lot of the money has historically disappeared or been stolen, and in fact it's got so bad that people have just been stealing money in full view of other people, and maybe this is the time to just get rid of the fees, especially with COVID. I mean, this is a time when people really need to use the parks, and most people don't pay. And the fact that so much of the money disappears into the wrong hands, maybe it's time to just say, hey, we got this money from this grant, and maybe a little bit of it just will cover the fact that we don't get the user fees, or at least maybe we just collect the boat ramp fees and not charge people for using the dog park and the tennis courts, because they're not paying that anyway. So this, again, that was a suggestion from the Parks Commission, and something that that for the council to discuss and make a decision on at some point. So I'm throwing that out. And then the last thing is, in terms of money, if the money from the ODOT grant has not all been used up, one possible use, the Whitewater Park lost $20,000 in funding because of COVID from the to write grants for the thing, for the Whitewater Park, and so any help toward writing grants would be appreciated, and so that's something to throw into the hopper. Basically, the thing about the Whitewater Park is that we basically think the state will pay for it once the permitting is done. It's just getting that permitting done. So anyway, that's what I got, and appreciate the time.
Mayor, if I can have a couple minutes.
Please.
First off, Steve, thank you so much for coming into our meeting. I think this is great. I think hopefully this will become a regular thing where a member of the Parks Committee will come to our council meeting and give an update on what we talked about, and really just have that interaction between the Parks Committee and the council. I think it's much more effective when it comes from somebody from the committee versus me repeating what we talked about in the meeting itself. Just going by the numbers, first off, Mayor and members of the council, as far as the skateboard park sealing or resealing, obviously we can't make a decision on that tonight, but if you'd like, I could put that on the agenda for next council meeting for a decision. And it sounds like, Can-Do has the money. The agenda item or the action would probably just be getting council to approve either the city heading up the project and being reimbursed, or deferring everything to the Parks Commission or Can-Do to just do the project. And so those will be a couple of decisions that will have to be pondered prior to the council meeting, if that's the council's desire.
Can you?
Jerry, with that, can you also look into whether or not something like that would have to go out to bid for multiple contractors? Because it sounds to me like they found a contractor and got a bid from that contractor.
Yeah, and listening to I agree with you, and listening to the amount that Steve brought up, I think we'll be fine. We could probably get 3 telephonic bids and be well within policy, which we do not have yet, but I'm already starting to make these decisions based on the policy that Carrie and I have been working on putting together. So We will double check that. And I'll have that information for you guys by next meeting as well.
And Jerry, also find out, how does that tie into transportation? I can't wrap my head around, this money was for transportation and now we're putting on roofs. I'm not sure I understand what's going on here.
Yeah, and the theory behind that, Counselor, was the use of the parks. Obviously, if you want to talk about emissions, carbon emissions, and green gas, all of those encouraging people to walk and use bicycles versus vehicles. It's on the green belt there, so you have these gazebos. You have the skateboard park, which encourages people to do activities versus traveling and putting wear and tear on the roadways, and also contributing to the greenhouse effect and the carbon footprint, all of that environmental stuff that we should all be cognizant of. So that's a tie in between transportation and the parks and the gazebos.
Just one note on the skateboard park. The contractor the Parks Commission was really concerned about who would be doing the work. And anyway, it turns out that the guy that Can Do found is somebody who actually skates in the park and worked for a skateboard park manufacturer for 8 years. So it's actually, I think his bid is as much a labor of love as it is a money-making thing. I mean, he knows the park, he knows what's good for him. So I don't think we're going to do better. I'm not saying we could go out and get other bids, but we're really confident that he's the right guy.
Janet.
The resurfacing or the sealing of the skate park, if Can Do's paying for it, why is that a council decision? Why do we even have to get involved in it?
I think it's right because it's city property, and rather than me saying, yeah, Can Do, go ahead and do it, and then I've got 7 council members who may not be okay with us resurfacing it, and it's city property. Because it belongs to the city, I think it should be a council decision as to whether we want it done or not.
Is there anyone that's opposed to putting on the agenda, maybe stating it something to the effect of we would support the resealing of the skate park, and if Can Do would like to head up that project and handle the finances, please do?
Mayor, I'd also like to say, along with Councilor Wilson, if Can Do's heading this up and they're paying for it, what's this have to do with the council? Now, I understand what you just said, Jerry, about bringing it to our attention. Now you brought it to our attention, but still the fact remains that they're heading this up, they're financing it. So you're just wanting us to vote on it to say, oh, Can Do go?
Well, it also protects Can Do as well. We don't want them, down the road, maybe 5-6 years down the road, when all of us, well, hopefully I'm still here, but you all might be in different positions. We don't want Can Do being accused of going rogue and just doing whatever they wanted. I want Can Do to have the council support, recorded that the council supported this project and they went forward and did it. So it's kind of it protects both sides. I understand what you guys
city property. I think that's completely appropriate, but you're right. Let's let them run with it. So please, is there anyone opposed to placing it on the agenda next time? Put it on the agenda, please, Jerry.
Okay.
Danielle.
I would also like to add in that we do have a code that prevents people from doing things in the parks, and asking for our permission would not make a double standard in saying, oh, you can do whatever you want in our parks, but you, Mr. Parker, made up, can't, and we're going to fine you for going in there and doing that. So I think that this sets a precedent.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and address that, give them the sign off, given that it's our property next time. On the second item that Steve brought to our attention, the picnic structure roof replacement. Are we ready to take another look at the rest of that to-do list and evaluate those. I think it's very important that, inflation is going at least 15% right now. So the longer we wait, the more things cost.
Yeah, and Mayor, the council has a couple of directions we go in this. We can certainly do the whole workshop and go through another series of meetings to try to identify projects for the remaining funds in that MRMPO budget. Or the council can choose to, for instance, this one's kind of time sensitive because, as Steve has stated, it's first off, it's raining now, which deteriorates the gazebos even more. Prices are going up. Does the council want to just start addressing these requests one at a time as they come up, or maybe take this one as a priority and schedule something down the road to address all of the other considerations? I don't have a dog in the race. I'm just trying to give you guys some ideas to maybe ponder, and we can certainly do something next meeting, however way you want to go.
So given the time sensitive nature of this, things really are going down, and a fix now versus a replacement later is a less costly endeavor. So Jerry, we could go ahead and address this next time, and I think that we need to take a look at the rest of that list and maybe do a workshop. Maybe we can all look at that and prioritize numerically, saying, from the top, if we've got 100,000 left or whatever the number is, here's how we'd like to spend the top 5 items, and kind of go into it having done some of our thinking before we go into the workshop.
So would you
Danielle?
like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think it would be appropriate to reconvene the budget committee. And because there were a lot of items on there that the budget committee was still debating about. And I think since we did that before, we should do it again and allow for public comment, because I do know that I have constituencies that are against doing the gazebo rooftops. And so I think having public input on that is important.
Okay, then let's do a meeting at 6, a budget committee at 7, and a workshop at 7:45. And we just got to keep things moving along so we're not here all night. Malia.
I just want to remind you that we also need to have a work session for our goals. So it's going to get real busy.
Yeah.
Our goal setting session.
Yep.
As far as meetings, can't we just have the second meeting of the month and make that a workshop so that the next first of the month meeting, we can actually do things?
Is everyone good with that? So February the 1st will be our regular meeting. The 2nd would be our workshop.
I'm good with that.
No, why can't we do a second meeting in January?
That's was what I was thinking.
So the
We do the
17th,
workshop in January and
2 weeks from today on Monday.
And would we combine that with the goal setting, or what would we do with the goal setting meeting?
I have no problem combining the two into a workshop on the 17th.
The goal setting is going to take an hour, at least.
Well, yeah, if we limit the budget meeting to an hour, we could. I mean, they're
Yeah.
both pretty time sensitive. I don't think we want to wait till February to be setting our annual goals. Maybe we need to meet twice
Okay.
more. Maybe meet,
So 2 weeks from tonight at 6 o'clock, budget meeting first and then goal setting.
it's a lot. It's a lot in one meeting.
Well,
What if we had 2 more
6,
meetings? What if we met the second and the third Mondays?
Nope, that's too much. We've got to discipline ourselves to get our work done in this time slot. And if we do our work ahead of time, an hour is a long time. We took an hour on each of those segments. That's still a 2-hour meeting. And then we're still going to have another workshop on the rest of that shopping list.
I would also like to remind council that we're in public input.
We could revisit this for good of the order at the end of the meeting.
At the end of the meeting?
And
I
for good
don't
of the,
think that's really what good. the good of the order is really designed for. Good of the order is really designed to address each other's performance.
I don't think that's the only thing it's for, but that's one thing it can be used for.
Well, I can cover in my department report.
Okay,
Because Council Hinckley's correct. We're kind of getting off the path. When we started going to goal setting, we've kind of deviated from the public comment. So I've got these written down, and when it comes to my report, so because I think goal setting was one of my questions anyway, for when it was my opportunity to speak towards the end of the meeting. And then counselors, as far as, again, the public comments, we have user fees and the Whitewater Park. I know the user fees, one of the things I was looking at for a couple of counselors was the use of an app to pay for parking fees out of the parks. So just keep that in mind as you consider this, or as you think about this. And then the Whitewater Park, that's at your discretion. Again, these will all have to be made agenda items later on if you so desire.
okay. Steve, anything else to wrap up?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for your ideas.
Okay.
Okay. Point 7, council consideration, City of Gold Hill wildfire fuels and vegetation management plan.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. These are all going to be quick updates. Quite honestly, when we started considering the agenda for this month, I didn't have any action items for the council. We thought about not even having a meeting, but there are a lot of things going on that I wanted to update the council on that have been occurring over the last month. This being one of them, we are currently working on a wildfire fuels and vegetation management plan. This is done through, I believe it's grant funding that the Parks Commission, the Parks Committee got, and more specifically Paige Pruitt. She's been a go-getter getting fundings for these types of projects. This plan is almost complete, and what it does is it went through our entire park system to include the beach and identified hazardous areas for fire hazards. And when the plan is done and ready for adoption, it'll identify what we should prioritize as far as these hazard abatement areas. Some of them we've already spoken with the fire department and the soil conservation group. We can start tomorrow. We don't have to wait for this plan to be adopted. It's just obvious. These are obvious areas where you don't need us to say, use this type of tool or this method. It just needs to be ripped out. We have to do it now. So we're already working on that, but I just want to give you a heads up on that's what we're working on. If you see the crews out there at the beach area or behind the houses along the bike trail, these are in accordance with this plan. We've seen the preview of the plan, and we're doing what it's going to recommend us to do anyway. It's time sensitive. There's a lot of things that we have to do prior to fire season starting. There are times when we should be using chemicals. There's times when we should be using mulching. All of these different methods should be used at different times. So we will start the work without the plan being adopted, but we have done that working with the fire department in the soil conservation district.
Okay, good. Any comments, council? Danielle?
Jerry, do you know if the fire department is still offering the service to Holloway private burnables? Because I know when they do the twice a year thing, they told me that it doesn't have to be a special day, that citizens can call them in to help Holloway the burnable stuff. Could you check into that? Because while we're doing the city, perhaps they can help private homeowners as well to get some of their stuff cleared before fire season.
Absolutely. And one of our topics tonight is the Firewise program. I'll talk about that and how that is beneficial to, it's more the residents than the city itself. Obviously the city benefits because we're creating a fire break between homes and the fuels out there, which protects the entire city. But that participation in Firewise will also assist with that. But yes, I spoke with Ian from the fire department before Christmas, and he had mentioned that as well. He didn't have any details, but he has said that they've done that in the past where they brought roll-offs out where people can bring their stuff either to get it chipped up or to just go ahead and throw it away. So I'll double check on that.
And Jerry confirmed that they still have that refuse trailer. I know that was kind of a standing program where someone can kind of ask for the trailer to be brought out. They will drop it off on a Monday and pick it up on a Friday, leave it with you all week, and you just pile your stuff in and they'll dispose of it.
Right. That was what I was talking about, was the refuse
Yeah.
trailer.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll check on that.
And we can bring attention to that, because if it's in place, yeah, that's a great thing to offer people. Okay, 7.2 Firewise program.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Real quick, I know everyone's aware of or familiar with the Firewise program. I got more familiarized with it this last month, speaking in person with Ian from the fire department. He's really encouraging Gold Hill to become involved. What I didn't realize is that it really falls into the same premise as Neighborhood Watch. The city and the county have very little involvement, and it's basically self-ran by the citizens. I know in one of my previous departments, I actually had a community service officer that ran all of our neighborhood watch groups, coordinated, having police officers come in and speak to these groups. But that was a city with 60,000 people, and we had 100 neighborhood watch groups. If we can get several groups here in Gold Hill, all it takes is 9 people, which could be one group. But if we can get 9 groups with 5 people each, I think would be great. And they meet once a month, and the fire department has already offered up, they'll send personnel out to these meetings and talk to the residents about how to create these defensible spaces, offer up the services like this refuge trailer. There's a lot of benefits, and one of the biggest benefits is when we apply for grants in the future, being a member of Firewise looks good on our grant application if we have an active Firewise community. And I know that we've been trying to get this off the ground for a while. To me, it seems pretty easy. And with all of you who have contacts out in the community, I know that we can get a few people to step up and to be a captain and, basically coordinate a small group of people who, volunteer a couple hours a month to help their neighbors abate some of these wildfire fuels. So again, it was just a quick reminder that we want to do that. If you guys, and I know, Mayor, you sent me a list. You've already got a list of people who are interested, and then there's a few of you counselors who are on that list. So I'll resurrect that and send that out, and hopefully we can get that moving. And if you guys hear of any other names, and Steve, I know you're still on board here. If you know of people as well, we can make this happen pretty quick. It's just a matter of us just, pulling the trigger, making it happen. So I'm here to answer any questions regarding that.
I think the bottom line criteria for participating is spend $100 a year for fire abatement, and you can charge yourself $10 an hour and your kid $10 an hour, and 5 hours on a Saturday, you've done your annual commitment. And I know we all do that anyhow. So it's really just sort of formalizing this activity and putting the city on the map as far as contributing toward increasing our fire resiliency and then making us more attractive to some of the funding sources. Jerry, would you read those members that have already indicated an interest, if you have that list?
Sure, let me find that real quick.
We've actually already done it.
Yeah.
We did it a year or so ago. It's a fabulous program. We really should be encouraging citizens to do it. They'll come out. The guy spent 2 hours inside, and outside and all over our property, and even came inside and installed new smoke alarms for us. It's just, just amazing. Every single resident in this town should be calling these people and asking for it. It's an amazing service. It really is.
I think it sounds like what we haven't done is just taken that next step and made us official, with the fire department saying we are an official Firewise community. Mayor, these are the names that you submitted. You, Mayor, Councilor Beachside, Carrie and Larry Holm, Richard Hart, Mark and Cindy Warwick, Ed Miller, Brandon Brooks, and Rob Lowe. That's who's on the list that was submitted to me today.
Anyone else would like to be involved? Please let us know. Hit Jerry with your email and phone number. We'll put you on the list and let's get that going. Yes, Malia.
Maybe this is something that could go on the mayor's letter on the back of the water again.
Yeah.
You know, I know other people that I talked to who said they were interested. And maybe I'll send you those names separately, but
Okay.
it's just really important to let the public know that it's available.
Thank you.
Carrie doesn't
You have
notice.
something, Ron?
Good, Ron.
Excuse me?
Oh, I thought you had a comment.
No, Counselor Beachide covered it. I was gonna say the same thing, put it on the newsletter. And not only that, maybe we could post it on the boards that are around town that we post the
Oh, the
City Hall, you know, just to put it up there, and put it out there for people, because I know a lot of people that they read those. So that's all I was gonna say.
Good, thank you. Anyone else? 7.3, private security for the city of Gold Hill.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of the
Hold
council.
that until Jerry addresses it, please. Jerry.
I just want to update the council. I'm still working on this. I have met with a security company. They are working through some logistical challenges to make this happen, having us become one of their clients. We'll be a unique client for them. They're actually one of the largest firms in Southern Oregon, at least in the Medford area, but they've never had a municipal client like us. They really want to do the right thing for us. And they were under the impression at first that they would just be here 40 hours a week or 30 hours a week. And those hours would be set every week, like, you know, 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. And I let them know that I wanted random, middle of the night, middle of the day. I wanted park patrols, bike trail patrols, those types of things. And I wanted, you know, if, for instance, you know, if we had an incident where a shop owner was late at night and they wanted an escort out to their car, they could call this company and they can actually make that escort happen. So they're willing to do all that. They're just trying to figure out the logistics so they can figure in the time it takes to travel to Gold Hill. They understand my desire for visibility. They understand the code enforcement component, and they understand my expectations out in the park. So I think once it happens, it's going to be very effective. And I let him know that we're flexible as well. I'm trying to make it, I'm familiar with the security world, so I'm trying to give them ideas on how, you know, maybe they can fit us in different ways. So it's still in the works, and I will keep you posted on that. I know that the council wants crime stats. I'm very interested to see how we did in December. I think December was our first full month without the sheriff's department under contract here. It's the very beginning of January. So hopefully by the next meeting, I can give you guys some comparison stats of last year and this year as far as crime, and see if anything changed, if things went up, went down, or stayed the same. And of course, we will pay attention once we get security on board to see if crime goes down or up or stays the same. So I just want to, again, just keep you guys up to date on what's going on with that. Any questions?
Jerry, I'm wondering, is there any reason why we couldn't get a report and kind of a tentative start date at our meeting in 2 weeks? To kind of push things along so that, you know, they may be overthinking this.
Yeah.
And because we've really been thinking about and talking about it for months now.
Yeah. Let me work on that. I had a conversation with them last week, and I kind of said the same thing. I'm sure that there's a way we can make everybody happy in this. And I understand their concerns. You know, it's kind of the same with the sheriff. You know, if they take on us as a contract, they'll have to hire another person, bring on another vehicle. You know, those are all costs that they have up front. They want some guarantee that, hey, this is gonna last, because if it doesn't, we've just bought a $50,000 patrol car and hired a guy for $30,000 a year. So I can understand their concerns. But they also understand our needs and they want to put their best people in Gold Hill. They really want to give us a service that we want and deserve. So let me keep working on that, Mayor. I can't guarantee that I'll have a contract to bring back to you next meeting, but I think we'll be moving along to the point where we should hopefully have something by the first meeting in February.
Good. Thank you. Anyone else? And when we get to our finances here, from Carrie's report, we'll see that we're in pretty good shape in that budget item. So the financial benefits are trickling down already. Okay, 7.4, Powerhouse and Brownfield cleanup.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This is another one of those items I just want to keep the council up to speed on. Councilor Beachside and I have been attending meetings with the Parks Committee, particularly Paige Pruitt, who has coordinated meetings with the state in order to address the Powerhouse out on the bike trail. As we all know, it's an eyesore. I know, just hearing from different people, historically it's been the topic of, there's been a lot of business ventures that have been pondered. There have been, comments as far as removing it, keeping it, what to do with it. What we want to do moving forward from this point is, I know that in 2015 or 2016, there was an assessment of the Powerhouse, but in reading that assessment, it primarily pertained to the soils and not the actual structure itself. So what we would like to do is pursue some technical assistant grant funding to address the Powerhouse itself, to see if there are hazardous materials in the Powerhouse. Now, that first study that was done in 2015 or 2016 did say that there were some petroleum product remnants on the cement. I do remember that. But as far as asbestos and anything like that, they didn't go into detail. So we really need to figure out what's going on there. On top of the money that's available for the technical assistance for a study for hazardous material, there's another grant available that we can even take that further to determine what we want to do with the property. So I just want to let you guys know that we're doing that. In fact, I've reached out to Paige and Malia today saying I'm willing to start working on that information form and get that submitted. It doesn't sound like it's a very competitive grant. We should be able to get it fairly easy unless I'm being overly optimistic. And it sounds like it's something that we all want. Obviously, it's been made a priority in the Parks Committee and the council. Just reading previous council, reports and meetings, this has been something the council wants to do. I know that we'll get to a point where we have to figure out what we want to do with that. And that's going to take the longest, I think, but I think we should just knock the homework out first, as far as what are the obstacles that we're facing or anybody's facing, if anyone's considering to do anything with that property. So I just want to let you guys know that's what we're doing there.
Any questions, thoughts?
I have some ideas as to what I'd like seen done with the property for the Powerhouse, but I'll weigh in at that time.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure this funding, this technical assistance funding, will fund public outreach to do just that when we get to that stage.
And you think there's a pretty good chance that we can get some funding through this technical assistance grant program? For
the studies, yes. Now, when it comes to abatement or even redeveloping it, that's a whole different story. In fact, they talked about low interest revolving loans, and I let them know that we're not in a position to take a loan to handle this. So what we do with that is going to have to be privately funded or state or federal funded through grants. I don't think that we have the money for it.
Yeah.
And Councilor she's been working with me on this through the whole process.
Oh, yeah, it's baby steps. We have to have these assessments before we can begin talking about development, even development plans, much less the actual development itself. So these are just the first steps. The person we're working with was actually really thrilled that we approached her, because I think she'd been working on this project, she said 6 or 7 years ago, and then it fell apart. Whoever was the energy behind it went away. And so she was very happy and thinks that, the site has really good potential for being approved and getting some kind of funding. But the place we have to start is getting these assessments on the building, and then getting then they'll give another grant for looking at the options for developing it. And so those are the two things that have to happen before we can actually develop it.
All right. 7.5, the finance update. Finally, Carrie, you're on.
Actually, I'm giving Carrie a break tonight. I'm going to try and do this myself. Carrie's available as my backup. We've asked Marvin to let Carrie share her screen so we can put these documents in front of you. It'll be a quick rundown, but this is something I want to do at least once a month. Just go over the budget with you guys, and it may not have to be very in depth. You guys can take a good quick look at it and see, by the numbers and the percentages, if we're doing good or if we have some concerns. And there may be some anomalies that Carrie can explain or I can explain. There's one that comes to mind that I'll point out when we come to it, where it's already 97% expended, but there's a reason for that. But again, it just kind of lets you guys know as we go through the fiscal year where we're at financially.
Okay, you ready? Okay. All right, do you guys see that?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So what we have here is the October revenues. Again, I'm not going to go by these line by line. We sent these out to you. Hopefully you got a chance to look at them. You can see them in front of you. We are in October, we were probably 40% carry through the fiscal year.
Yeah.
35 or 40. So as you can see, when you look at percentage of total, that shows us how much we brought in. So in the general fund, we've already brought in 97% of what we projected, according to the TWARP records. Public Safety Fund, I'm trying to look at something anomalies here. The Water Fund, we brought in 62%, so we're probably 30% above what we expected at this point, at this time of the year in October. So overall, 43% as far as revenues, which is right on board. Those are the bottom lines there where it says grand totals. Those are what I look at. Is it shows that we're 43.10% of total, and October is about the 35-40% of where we should be. And of course, these are revenues. So if that number is higher, that's even better in this respect. Now, expenditures, we don't want that number to be higher, but revenues, we're good. Let's do the next one, Carrie.
Okay. There's October.
Yeah. So expenditures, this is the one area, if you look down, like I said, the first thing I'd try to do is just go right to the percentage of totals. And you see down collection system rehab bond, we're 100% expended in that account, which makes you think, okay, well, if we've already spent all the money in that account, what happens if additional expenditures come throughout the rest of the fiscal year? I think this is one of those issues where we pay once a year, and we obviously pay in October. So if I were to open up what we owe for this bond, it's probably $27,297 a year. We paid it all off in one lump sum in October. We shouldn't see that number adjust anymore throughout the fiscal year. I could be wrong. This is my first year with Gold Hill, but my guess is that number won't change, and it's a one-time payment. So that's a good example of where you have that anomaly where, whoa, we're already 100% expended. What happened? And in those cases, we either spent all our money from the very beginning, or you might have had something catastrophic happen where we just weren't expecting it, or we didn't fund it enough. We didn't forecast enough in revenues to address the expenditures. Everything else looks pretty normal. If you look at the ground totals, 26%, that's actually pretty good for sitting in October. So no concerns there. And please, by all means, stop me. If you see something you want me to address, and we either me or Carrie can address it as we go forward. I just didn't want to take up a lot of your time. Okay, Carrie, let's go to November.
Okay, there you go.
And again, right about now, again, we should probably be about 40% of the year, of the fiscal year. So the bottom line here is we're 39.36. in revenues, not bad. Would I like to see that higher? Of course. But looking at all of our revenues, everything looks pretty in line. There's no anomalies here that I can see. If you guys have any questions on that, I'll certainly try to answer them. Okay, if not, Karen, let's go to expenses.
Okay, there you go.
Again, we're keeping our expenditures pretty low. In fact, in November, you see, we only spent $720 in public safety. And again, that's because that we ended up terminating our agreement with the sheriff's department. We've only expended, 25% of that account. So that leaves us a surplus that will be helpful at the end of the fiscal year, or if we have something catastrophic occur. Everything else looks to be on board. Everything looks good. Any questions on that? And November revenues?
So we can either go to December or we can go to the November
Let's just
bank
go-
statement.
Oh, we
Or
already, okay, let's go to December. You're right.
Okay, so there's December.
Yep. These are our revenues. Again, I think we're on target, council. I think we're where we should be. Not a lot of room for error, but I mean, we knew that going into this fiscal year that it was a tight budget. And let's go to expenses. And again, we are 50% of the year right now, and our grand totals are at 32.5. So we're looking good there. Now, going back to the November, is it the AP printout, Carrie, that we passed by?
Right there.
Yeah. So one of the things, council, I want to do is start sending you is, I call it an AP accounts payable printout. These are the checks that we've issued. And this is all public information. If someone were to do a public information request, they can get this. So if you, Carrie, just kind of scroll casually through this. I'm not looking for anything in particular, but just scroll, stop right there. I'll go, there we go. Stop right there. And it just shows you now the counselors that come in and sign the checks. You guys are already aware of this, but the rest of the council may not see who we're sending checks to. So I'm going to start including these, and I don't have to go over these. These are something that they're just for your information. I know some cities ask that the council put it on the consent agenda for approval. That way, it's the entire council saying I approve. But then I've heard other councils saying, because we always did it in the rears. The checks have already been signed, sent out, and then they go to council for approval. And councils are like, why are we even doing this? We've already sent the checks out. So I'd like to just give it to you for FYI. Yes, Councilor Hinckley.
So we used to do the check register and check approval. And the previous mayor, the council voted that basically the argument that you had made, we're approving these after they've already been done. So that was the point of the finance committee, was that you had counselors that were approving as we went and the two signatures. So
Okay, got it. So if you guys are cool with it, I'll just keep sending it as an informational once a month. I'm not quite sure, and I ask for your input on this. If you need me to go over, first off, we won't have to do 3 or 4 months of this again, because now we're caught up. So next month in February, all you'll see is January stuff. So it'll be a little bit quicker, and it won't be so many documents to go through. And so it should be faster. So if you guys need explanation, by all means, I'm here to explain. Or if you just want it in your packet just for information so you can refer to it later, or if you have a constituent that says, hey, I saw that you guys sent a $359 check to CenturyLink. What's that all about? Those kind of questions. Again, it's part of that transparency that I told you that I agree with. I think people should be able to see what we're spending our money on, and there should be no secrets. So it's all there. And if you guys have no objections, I'll keep doing it this way.
I have a question, Jerry. On page 1 of the AMP register, a bunch of pretty vague entries, invoice cloud, and kind of right there about 2 inches down and then about at the midpoint.
Yeah.
That doesn't narrow things down much. Talk to me.
Right. It's funny. Carrie and I had this discussion before the meeting. I said, guarantee you someone's going to pick up on this whole invoice cloud thing because I didn't know what it was either, Mayor. So I'll let Carrie explain it to you.
So it's the program we use to take online payments from, basically runs our water bill system. People can log on and pay their water bill online. They can also set up as automatic payments. We get fees associated with that, depending on usage.
Can we add a memo item, voice cloud - water bill, just so we know what these things are?
Yeah, I can do that.
That'd be great.
Councilor Hinckley?
I know that I've discussed this with previous city managers. It's something that I would like to be able to add to the website eventually, if Carrie would be willing to do that, is just add our financial documents onto the website. So if anyone wants to look at them, they can just go look, who are our vendors, what are we putting out, and then that way it's completely transparent.
Okay.
We can do that. What I've done in other cities, Counselor, is, for instance, this will all be included in this agenda packet. So anyone, now correct me if I'm wrong, Carrie, but when we post the agenda for this meeting, these documents are attached to it, correct?
They weren't this time. I was having some issues, but I figured a way around the issues. So they will be next time.
Okay. So if we make this a standing agenda item, say the second, or we can even do it the first meeting of every council, every month, then you as counselors can refer people to that particular agenda and they can see them there. I think that'd be a lot easier, and that way we're not duplicating effort. I've seen budget documents and we have them on our website. And I think that's what's more consistent with other cities is our budget, the budget message, those types of things. So if that's okay, if that meets your need, Counselor, that would kind of cut down on our work and we still get the same information out there.
That works for me. I just want the financial documents to be transparent. So
Yep, I agree.
that way people can stop asking me questions.
Yep. Well, you'll get more questions like, why are they spending $5,000 on PERS? So just stand by, be prepared.
Any disagreement with proceeding this way going forward? Then Jerry, let's keep this going then.
Got it.
Anyone else have anything to add regarding the finance update? Danielle?
So I know that Carrie and I discussed this month, we're going to go through and do reconciliations, just so that the council knows that we're going to be going through all that, which was in our last audit, as an additional step to secure our finances and make sure that there are additional eyes on that, was that check signer would go through and do reconciliations. So we should be doing that this month. And if we can't finish it this month, it'll be done by February.
Cool. Good. Thank you. Okay, 7.6, Ethics Committee.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is just a carryover from our last meeting. I brought it up just to make sure this is still the direction we wanted to go. And it was a request of the council to table it until this meeting. I forgot to verify that in the charter, if this is required or suggested, if it was a shall or may. And that may dictate how we go with this. But if the council wants us to continue with this, we'll become active in trying to get some members for an ethics committee.
Maybe you can clarify that for next time.
Okay.
Okay, reports from counselors. Tell us what everyone has been doing. Janet, what's new with you and your stitched on second business?
Just spent the last week remodeling our store and making more room for classes and stuff. So we have a big year coming up here.
Nice. Malia.
MRMPO and RV Act were both canceled in December, so wasn't much on that. they'll pick up again in January. Just been doing the Brownsfield meetings with Jerry and Paige.
Neat. Good. Sure be nice to see some progress on that. That's been on everyone's mind, just not top of mind.
Yeah.
Hate to see us drop the ball though, and let's just kind of finalize this.
Yeah. Right. It's such an eyesore and it's such a liability. We've just got to do something with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ron.
Building homes. I have 4 projects going on at this time, so I'm very busy.
Keep you out of trouble. Eric.
I'm just holding the line, Mayor.
Getting through the long, wet winter. Danielle.
So I've been coordinating between Marvin and Jerry for the IT assessment and the website design, trying to get that stuff going forward. And as far as Bee City Committee, this is kind of our down period. This is when we overwinter and we hibernate. But I would like to mention that I really like that we're talking about the Firewise stuff and the fire mitigation before we get to that point and getting started on that. And from Bee City's perspective, I would just like to make the council and the community aware that as you're ripping those things out, and if you're wanting to replant and landscape, you want to make sure that you're using native species and things that are going to be good for the bees. The state website is actually a really good resource for that, and making sure that you're not planting invasive species that are going to overgrow your lawn again and cause further issues in the future. Those invasive species are the ones that we're really seeing a problem with, like the trees of heaven, people who have brought in non-native blackberries that will come in and overgrow. You plant mint in your yard, guess what your yard is going to be made of? Mint. So just try to remember those things when you're replanting after you get this stuff removed.
Thank you. Bill. Uh-oh. We caught him going to the refrigerator. All right. Anyone else? Department reports.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I'll try to make this quick. Couple things that we're still working on. Audio visual in the council chambers. That's one of the things that Councilor Hinckley and Marvin have been working on for me. Marvin sent me a great detailed list of things that we can do to upgrade the council chambers to make it more meeting friendly for virtual meetings. I wanted to remind the council, again, no decisions can be made right now, but I'm just trying to plant the seed that we have about $7,800 left in COVID money that needs to be spent by June. I get a phone call at least once every 2 weeks by that agency saying, hey, where are we at? My preference would be to use that for the council chambers. I think that upgrading the audio and visual components in the council chambers, I think it'd make a much nicer environment to have our meetings. And for those who want to watch and even participate, I think it just make it so much smoother. We've got equipment apparently that works, but I think it could be better. And I think that might be the best way to spend that $7,800. We haven't spent it yet, and we're going on 8 months now. So just planting that seed. And then the community room, the troops have been working on the community room that has been a storage room for a long time. We've made some purchases on some tables, done some painting, put a door in to give us restroom facilities. At the same time, what we've done is making that restroom, it's the women's restroom for City Hall. We're making that unisex, which actually addresses a concern, an ADA concern that was pointed out to us by USDA. So we're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone there. We've got a little bit more work to do. I've had a conversation with the mayor as far as the kitchen equipment. Him and I will be coordinating to make sure we find a home for that. That's going to benefit the community. But I'm kind of excited about getting that up and going. I I think we gave the commitment of having it ready by January. I think we'll meet that commitment. And so I wanted to let everybody know about that. One of the things I've had conversations with a few of you about is the goal setting session. So I think now would be a good time to try and figure out when we want to do that. We also have talked about the MRMPO funds. So if I understand correctly, we would have to have a budget committee session that included public comment for the MRMPO funds, and then the council would have to approve the expenditure of the MRMPO funds, correct?
That is the precedent that we've set so
Yeah.
far.
Okay, so this would require 2 sessions. We'd have to have a work session or a goal setting session. And we can do that the same night. If we want to get it knocked out in January, we can do that maybe first. Then move into the finance committee session. And then move into city council. It's a heavy agenda. Or if we want, I think if anything can wait, it could probably be the MRMPO funds. It's only going to be 2 weeks. We can move our MRMPO discussion to the first meeting in February. And we can knock out the goal setting session on in our second January meeting, which would be the 17th.
Danielle?
So I'm wondering if we can, instead of stacking a regular council meeting on the 17th, can we do the budget committee meeting at 6, followed by goal setting workshop at 7, and then at the February 1st meeting, we'll all be prepared and have had the time to sleep on some of those things to then make those decisions on February 1st. Because I know one of the big problems I have is when we stack meetings like this, so much is discussed that by the time we get to decision making, I've got a million things in my head and I can't remember what we decided 2 hours ago.
Malia, how does that sound to you?
Yeah, I like that idea. I think that's a good idea. I think it would also be helpful after those meetings to have kind of a summary of, because like you said, we talk about so much and then we come back 2 weeks later to vote on it. It'd be really great if somehow, we could have a summary of some of those discussions in the meantime, in between. But yeah, I like the idea.
Yeah, just a city recorder that can do that.
We love it. Thanks, Carrie. You're helping us be more efficient and really use our time best and get as much done for the town. So I know it's extra work, but we do appreciate it. Okay, so next time on the 17th, we will do at 6 the budget committee, at 7 our goal setting, and then a month from now, February, we will do our next full city council meeting. And Jerry, can we make in our MPO remaining items, budget, a part of that agenda?
Yes. Okay. So let me just make sure I got this right. So we don't want to have a regular council meeting on the 17th. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay. So the only thing that'll get placed on hold is the sealing of the skate park that Steve brought up, but it's only 2 more weeks. So we'll just I'll have to remember to get that on the February agenda. So 6 will be, Carrie, you already got this, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I won't repeat it then. Got it then. So we won't have a council meeting on the 7th, a true council meeting with any action items or anything like that. We'll just do our goal setting and the MRMPO budget with the committee. And then Carrie, we'll have to make sure that we notice the homes. And who else is on our budget committee?
Warwick.
And Warwick's. That's correct. Mark Warwick. Can't forget them. Cool. And then on the first meeting in February, we'll have a regular council meeting. And I think
Good.
that's
So then, is that the 7th of February is our next council meeting?
Yes.
I believe that's the next Monday.
Yep.
Okay. Good.
Right on. Okay, and I think that's all I have for department reports, Mayor.
Okay. Carrie, you have an opportunity to share anything that you think would benefit us knowing what you're up to at this time in the agenda. So we don't want to put you on the spot, but you want to give us a 30,000-foot view of what's been keeping you busy the last couple of months?
Really, it's just a lot of the stuff that I've done with Jessica that I'm now doing, water bills and some of the website stuff, and it's a learning curve, but I'm getting there. It's going easier. The first time I did the website, it took about 4 hours. Now it takes about 45 minutes, so it's going better.
Good.
And then, the phone calls and from some of the residents and that kind of stuff. And but really day to day, it's kind of nice. Everything's a little different all the time. It doesn't always happen the same way every day. So, and that's going pretty good.
It seems pretty calm in the office.
It really is, Pace.
Good. That's always good. Yelling doesn't get much more done. Okay, good of the order. When this was first suggested, it was an opportunity to essentially nicely criticize each other or highlight kudos of what we were doing for each other. Danielle.
So I don't necessarily have a criticism or a kudos, just more information for the council. I will not be rerunning for election this year. And so there are a number of committees that I am signature on. And if there is anyone who would like to volunteer to become a check signer, I believe that I am the signer on our investment fund. If Carrie, I'm sure at the next time Carrie and I meet on finances, we can get a list of the things that I'm signer on. And then that way it can start to be moved to another counselor, because that can take upwards of 2 months to change those signatures out. So I'd like to get some counselors volunteering that are for sure going to be rerunning or aren't up for election to start to sign off on those things.
Thank you. And we appreciate you doing that up to this time, Daniel. Well, let's be careful out there. That water's slippery and people are falling downstairs and it's a jungle. Keep healthy, don't get sick, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks. This meeting is adjourned.
Hi, guys.